Hey, what's up, everyone? Um, I pretty much wanted to do a quick little recap. I know it's Friday, everyone's out enjoying their day. But when you have some time over the weekend, maybe you can review this trade recap that we do. I wanted to cover VLO. There's quite a, I guess there's a few significant things on here that I really want to emphasize on. And a lot of it is kind of how I trade. And if it's something that you like, you can embody it as your own style. But I really wanted to just cover some things here, some scenarios, and then forward look on Velo as well. Hope you enjoy. All right, so we're gonna pretty much start off here on this weekly chart. And something that I wanted to kind of point out was we've had these two areas kind of marked out, 146.81, 152.20, marked out because this was kind of the supply range high before price finally got a proper breakout above it, right? And remember, when we're looking for trend continuations, trend changes, we're looking for those aggressive candles that we label as displacement, right? Because those displacement candles are showing us who the overall aggressor is in the higher time frame, lower time frame, whatever time frame it is that you're trading. So in this scenario here, when we kind of go back and replay it, this this aggressive move into new highs on the weekly scale are important because they're leaving imbalances that are eventually going to come back into to restructure and refill your orders. Remember, like when you have these aggressive moves up, think about a paint roller, right? You're painting your wall, you paint one area very quickly that you eventually have to do what? You have to come back and repaint it. The same thing is kind of identified in scenarios like this, and this is how structure works very cohesively with ICT concepts, right? You eventually come back to retrace before going higher, in theory, right? Just like you left all that area on your wall unpainted, the same thing here. When you come back to fill in these orders, these are all orders that are probably going to trigger back to the upside because of how quickly this moved. You're going to want to watch for scenarios in this area. And when this all lines up, right, with our OTE, previous supply resistance, nice and balanced. There's a lot of confluence for price to kind of come into this area and eventually bounce. So coming into this trade, when we now head into the daily, right? What do we know about open gaps? Open gaps are usually supportive of price, especially if they gap up. Gap downs are usually going to reject price. And in this scenario here, we have a lot of consolidation that finally sweep the lows. We come into our 618, right? When we take this leg, we come right into our 618, which we know is our true OTE. Took out all these consolidation lows, but then look, something I want to point out here, and I'm going to go to the 4 hour here in a bit, but it's like if this was going to continue the same way it was over here, right? Consolidation leads to expansion. But if the consolidation fails to displace, remember what we said earlier at the beginning of this recap, displacement, so our aggressive moves into new lows or new highs, is what's going to show us if the trend is continuing or if it's going to change. So in this scenario here, why does it not repeat what it did here and what it did here? Why do we now have two iterations of buyers stepping in, and on this was it Wednesday candle we go outside hammer up, right? So now when we go into the 4 hour, when we had this drawn out, we have a really nice trend line. This was the outside candle that went up. But think about it like this, guys. We have our overall consolidation phase right here kind of identified, right? We know where that consolidation period is. We take out the lows, push into the gap. The gap is then respected, and we reclaim. We reclaim the previous range lows. Remember, in price action, if you're going to have your consolidation period where you consolidate and you break below, in basic market structure concepts, when you come to retest it, if this was true displacement to the downside, you are going to create a lower high to continue down, which is why we're saying I look for that displacement. And if not, watch those reclaims. Because if this manipulates down, but then you come back into the range, who's giving up here? sellers, right? So it's the same thing. Whoops. I don't know what just happened. So it's the same thing I'm trying to reiterate down here, right? We had our overall range. This was our mean threshold of the range, the 50% mark. Look at look at where it all lines up. Look at where this Wednesday candle lines up with the trend line right into the 50. We had reclaimed instead of aggressively pushing down to continue the trend the same way it was did over here, the same way it did over here. Rather, we reclaimed and then we had this 4-hour structure here. This is where we took the trade right here when we had shown some signs of buyers trying to push us higher, right? And then just following the 4-hour alone, we knew that our overall target was the upper end of the consolidation range into the equal highs into 162, and then maybe retest this imbalance up here into 164. And so when you kind of play it out, oh, I don't want to do that, right? Look at this nice move. Look at the 4-hour. Did the 4-hour ever invalidate us? Did the 4-hour ever even take out the 157 stop loss? It did not. Rather, we got this really nice momentum up. So now looking forward into VLO, now that we go to the daily, right, we did take out this imbalance here. So now we're going to have a really nice inverted fair value gap here that I would like to see used as reference to then continue on higher. Because to me now, VLO looks like it's going to start its MMBM side. So it's buy side of the curve, where we now start to push up. We came into discount for longs, and now we're going to continue back up, in my opinion. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this and you kind of saw how I broke it down from a weekly perspective into a daily and then used the 4-hour to kind of pretty much trade out the whole thing. And this was a really nice win, 650%. The contracts actually ran, I don't even want to talk about it. They ran like 1500% or so. But it is what it is. We had a really nice payout on this. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this recap. And if you have any questions, let me know.